Hi there, I'm Isabel with Tuna's Artwork Academy. We're a team of designers who process hundreds of artworks each month, so we've really refined our method of working and want to start sharing with you some of the ways we organize and optimize our workflow. Today I'm going to focus on some basic tips and tricks on how to really streamline the way you work in InDesign. For this, I'm going to assume you have a basic knowledge of the program. For example, you know where the tools are, or at least you know how to go about finding them yourself. With that in mind, please let us know if there's anything you'd like clarification on so that we know how to direct our videos in the future. Now let's get designing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and use Command N to create a new document. And presumably when you're creating a new document, you already know what project you're making and have a general sense of design and technical specifications. Today we're creating a resume, so I already know it'll be printed on A4 paper. And I'm going to go ahead and set the margins to 20 millimeters on the top and bottom and 15 millimeters on both sides. For now, I'm not going to touch bleed or slug, but I can easily change it later if needed. The only thing I'm going to mention here besides that is that you want to deselect facing pages. Unless, of course, you're creating a booklet or a magazine spread. It's a little bit harder to remove facing pages after the fact than it is to add them if for some reason you start your project and then partway through realize, it's actually going to be a petite booklet. So with that, I'm going to create the document. Now that the document's created, the first thing I'm going to do is edit master page A. So that's over here. Each new InDesign document is created with this first master page. Master pages are essentially a template with common elements to be used across your project. This can include headers, margins, guides, and more. By using masters, if you need to change one basic element of your project, say you need to increase a margin, add information to a header, or simply increase the number of columns, you don't need to go page by page to do it. Simply change the margin on the master page and all other pages will update correctly. It ensures consistency. Now you can have multiple masters. Let's say, for example, you were setting a book and each chapter title page needed a different layout. You'd create one master page for the chapter title and one page for the rest of the artwork. For this resume though, I'll work with only one. As I mentioned before, going into a project, you'll hopefully already have a basic plan of what you're going to be doing. So in my instance, I knew that on the master page, I'm going to need a header, which is going to be my name, my profession, and my address. So I'm going to create all of that right now. The first thing I'm going to do on this master page is create a header. So I want my name and I want my position. Artworks instructor. And I'm also going to want to include my company address. Okay. Now I'm going to start formatting this text. So I know that I want all of this aligned to the right. And I know that I want it to be the same size that I'm going to want my body text, which for the time being, I'm going to call that 10 points. It could always change later on. In a future video, we can go a little bit more into hierarchy of text and some basic design principles, but for now, just know that I want my name and profession to be some of the biggest information on the screen, and that I want the address to be essentially the size of the body text, which in this case is going to be 10 points Montserrat. Now over here, I know that these two bits of text I want to be the most prominent on the page, so I'm going to come over here, make my name nice and big, put it in bold, and I'll make my position, let's say, 17 points. Okay, and now that I've got all the information on my page, I'm going to want to make sure that everything is aligned at the same baseline. So in order to do that, first I'm going to select the first text box that has my name and profession in it. I'm going to hit Alt-Command-C, and that's going to make the text box the exact size of what's inside of it. The next thing I'm going to do is resize the address text box so that it's the exact same size as the first one with my name in it. And then I'm going to hit Command B. It's going to bring up multiple options, and what I'm going to want to do is come over to vertical justification and tell it to align to the bottom. So this way it's going to be perfectly in line with the baseline of artwork instructor. The final thing I'm going to do here is just add a guide to the page. This is where I want the body of my text to begin. So I'm going to add that guide and then create a nice text box in here. And with that, we're going to move on to editing individual pages. Now we're on the main page, and this already has our Master A applied. If for some reason Master A isn't applied to your page, you're just going to come up here and you're going to drag Master A and drop it right over your page. And then everything that you've previously set up will be applied. Now that everything's set up, we can start working on the body of the document. So first you're gonna have to Command click, and that's gonna make the master text box editable. And now you can start setting up paragraph styles. So I personally prefer to set up all my main styles that I foresee needing in the beginning. For this project, I expect to need a section header, another style for company location, one for positions, dates, a final one for a job description, and a bullet one. Now that I have the sample text there, I'm going to go through and make them look exactly how I want them to. And then using those looks, I'm going to create paragraph styles based off of them. This is a personal preference. You could also just immediately create everything in the paragraph style pane. But for my purposes, I like to just set it up visually and then I'll create paragraph styles based off of that. My personal preference is to just come in here and set up the text to look how I want it to look, and create styles off of that. So here I'm going to say that that's going to be 14 points bold, all caps. Come back to paragraph styles, and I'm going to create a new style. Call that section. Now for company location, I want that to be 12 points, also bold, and I want it to have a little bit of space between the section headers, so I'm going to add a tiny bit of space before. Come over here, create a new style, and this is my company location style. Next for my position, I'm going to tell it to be 10 points. I'll let it be semi-bold. And once again, here, position. Dates, I want to be italic. Now, job description and bullets, these are going to be essentially the same font styles. The only difference for me, I'm going to add a tiny bit of space before this job description. I'm just going to let it be 0.5 millimeters. That's body. And bullets, there's going to be no space before. But I'm going to come over here. There are other ways of doing this as well. This is my preferred way. I'm going to come over here, add bullets. I'll indent it 3 points. Oop. And there you have it. Okay, so now I've got all of my styles set up. For my own ease, I'm just gonna come over here and I'm gonna rearrange the order of the paragraph styles. This is not necessary. You don't have to do this. It's a personal preference. So now that I have everything in order, I can come over here and I'm just gonna copy and paste in the text, the body of my document, which I've prepared separately in a word processor. Just paste that in there, and now I can come through and start applying the styles to all the text that I have. Okay, so now I'm just coming down and one by one setting the correct styles. Here we have a little bit of lorem ipsum text for the body. Now, as I get to the end here, I'm actually going to come and show hidden characters. So as you can see in the Word document, there was a paragraph, there was an enter to separate each section, but I actually don't want to be using enters. I just want to be using space before. So I've removed that. I'm going to come in here, and as you can see, up here I only used, up in the first category, I only used 1 millimeter of space before. But when it's coming into the second job in this instance, I actually want there to be a little bit more space. So I'm going to come here and experiment, and I think I'm going to want 4 millimeters space before. Now, instead of just leaving this as an edited style, and you'll see this little plus here means that the style is applied, but something has changed. So I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to say create a new style again. And it's going to be based off of this company location, but it's going to have this 4 millimeters before. I'm going to call this company location second to differentiate the two, because it just means that it's not the first company and location after a section title. So there you go. Now I can carry on, just still applying all the styles. Here's another company and location second, again, because I want those 4 millimeters before here. Now here's another section. Now I've applied this, and as you can see, in the beginning it didn't matter space before because it was the start of the document. But here I noticed that I'm actually missing space before. I do want some extra space there. So now I'm coming in here into indents and spacing. I'm just adding some space before. And let's see. I'm gonna add 8 millimeters. I think that looks good. Now I'm not gonna address the skills section yet. In a little while, I'm gonna come back and show you, I'm gonna use a table there. So we're gonna address that in a minute. So for the time being, I'm just gonna carry on to education. Section again. You see that space before is applied, it looks good. Artwork Academy, this is another company location, but it's the first one. I don't want that extra space in there. And here we go, I will finish applying styles. And now I've done Command 0 to zoom out so that I can see the whole page. And I think it looks pretty good. Once again, I've hit Command and clicked outside so that I can use hotkeys again. And I've hit W to show a print preview. And I think this looks basically good. This is a good start to our resume. Now this is looking quite good overall. So I'm gonna now come in, first off, toggle off the preview, the print preview, and I'm gonna zoom in and start working on the skills section. What I want for this is for it to be done in a table, because for my purposes, I think that's gonna be easiest. So I'm gonna highlight all this text, come up here to table, and tell it to convert text to table. For the column separator, I'm gonna tell it to be these tabs. This is the symbol for tab in InDesign, and my row separator is gonna be a paragraph. So I'm gonna tell that, okay. So this is what it looks like now, but I don't want it to actually obviously be a table. This is simply for alignment purposes. So I'm gonna come over here. Here is where you can edit and change the line weight. And as you can see, I have all of the types of table lines highlighted. So I'm gonna come here and just tell it 0. So now, if you were to go to print preview, there's a weird amount of space, but it isn't visibly a table. Come out of that again. Now I want to address that weird amount of space, and I'm gonna do that by hitting Alt-Command-B. I'm gonna come in here, and this is the space, the cell insets. This is just the space around the edge right here. And I want it to be smaller so that it doesn't stand out quite so much when I'm working. I don't want it to. So I'm gonna see that. Let's see if that's enough for it. You know what, I'm gonna leave it like that for now. I can always come back and edit it later. Next, I'm just gonna make these a little bit smaller. Make these 2 columns. And now I've prepared a graphic separately to use as a skill badge. So I'm gonna go over to where I have that saved, and I've just copied and pasted. This is what I'm using right now for the skills. Use whatever you like. So I'm just gonna copy that into each of these for now. Of course, in an actual resume, I would identify each of these would perhaps be different. Don't know why that one was aligned over there. Just for a bit of fun. Come over here, make sure they're all aligned to the left. Once again, I'm gonna toggle and just see how that looks. I think it looks quite good. I might want a little bit less space over here. I'm just gonna make it a little bit smaller. And I think I prefer that. I'm gonna zoom out and just see how I feel. And I still think that I want a little bit less space between each of them. So come back in here. Once again, hit Command-Alt-B. I'm gonna move this down a little bit. Let's try it at 0.5. Tell it okay. And now to me, that looks a little bit better. That looks like it aligns better with the rest of the document. So with that, you should have a basic workable document made entirely with master pages and paragraph styles so that you're very easily able to go and change anything should layout or text changes come down the line. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.